strong enough to be happy alone. There comes a moment in every person's life when the silence gets louder than the noise, when the room grows quiet, and you realize it's just you. No applause, no validation, no one texting back, no one checking in. And in that stillness, you either break or you bloom. See, the truth is, being alone doesn't mean being lonely. That's the lie we've been sold. They told us that happiness comes from someone else's arms, that your joy needs to be witnessed to be real, that your value increases when someone chooses you. But what if you chose yourself? Because let me tell you something, real strength isn't proven in the crowd. It's forged in solitude. Real power is built in the quiet moments when you face yourself, your past, your pain, and rise anyway. You want to be unshakable? You want peace that doesn't evaporate the second someone leaves? Then learn to sit with yourself. Learn to love your own company like it's gold. Learn to take yourself to dinner, to laugh at your own jokes, to cry your own tears, and still feel whole. See, people come and go. They change. They disappoint. They walk away. But you are the one person who will never leave you. So why wouldn't you build a home inside yourself? Most people are afraid of being alone because they're afraid of their own thoughts. They fear the stillness because they haven't made peace with themselves. But your solitude is not your enemy, it's your teacher. And oh, what powerful lessons it can offer. When you're alone, you learn what you like without being influenced. You learn what you believe without needing approval. You make decisions from your truth, not from pressure or fear. And that kind of clarity, it's rare. It's sacred. Now, this doesn't mean you don't want love. It doesn't mean you don't deserve connection. But it does mean you stop depending on others to feel alive. You don't need someone to text you good morning to feel wanted. You don't need someone beside you on a Saturday night to feel worthy. You don't need to be in a relationship to feel like you matter. You matter right now, exactly as you are. Alone, maybe, but not broken. Because here's the truth that so many overlook. When you're happy alone, when you're full by yourself, you don't attract from a place of lack. You don't settle. You don't cling. You don't fear being left because you know you'll be just fine if they do. That kind of confidence, that kind of inner joy, it's magnetic. It changes the energy of every room you walk into. It teaches people how to treat you, not based on your desperation, but on your self-respect. Being happy alone doesn't mean shutting people out. It means you invite them into a life that's already rich. It means your love is a gift, not a lifeline. It means your happiness is no longer conditional. So if you're in a season of solitude right now, don't fight it. Don't fill the silence with distractions. Don't rush to be seen, chosen, or needed. Sit in it. Grow in it. Strengthen your spirit in it. Because when you finally understand that your happiness lives within you, when you truly feel the freedom of not needing anyone to complete you, that's when life opens up. That's when you stop chasing and start attracting. That's when you stop begging and start becoming. That's when you stop shrinking and start shining. So today, I want you to walk with your head held high, not because someone loves you, not because someone noticed you, but because you chose to love yourself without permission, without apology, without delay. You are strong enough to be happy alone. And once you know that, you are unstoppable. There's something deeply misunderstood about being alone. People often whisper about it like it's a curse, like it's something to be ashamed of, as if solitude is a symptom of failure, of being unwanted, of being left behind. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Solitude is not loneliness and strength. It's the sacred space where you meet the real you. When the world quiets down, when the phones stop buzzing, the invitations stop coming, the rooms start feeling empty. That's when life begins to ask you the real question. Who are you when no one is looking? What do you believe when there's no one to agree or disagree? What do you really want when no one else's opinion is echoing in your ears? See, the noise of the world can distract you for years. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely disconnected from yourself. But in solitude, that's where the connection begins. That's where the work starts. Not for the sake of performance, not to impress, not to convince, but for truth, for clarity, for peace. Being alone gives you the gift of hearing your own voice. It gives you space to think your own thoughts, to feel your feelings fully, to confront the fears you've been burying under busyness. Solitude is not a punishment. It's a sacred invitation. It's preparation for a stronger, wiser, more grounded version of you. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs happen when no one else is around. That's when you realize you're not broken, you're becoming. That your time alone isn't empty, it's deeply full, full of growth, full of grace, full of strength, being built in silence. And you start to see that the world doesn't need a version of you that's always surrounded, always available, always performing. The world needs the version of you who has stood still in your truth, who has faced yourself, who has been shaped not just by celebration, but by solitude. Because solitude teaches you how to hold your own hand, how to be your own cheerleader, how to sit with your pain and still rise with purpose. That kind of strength, the kind that's developed in private, is unshakable. It's not about cutting yourself off from the world. It's about building a relationship with yourself so solid, so sacred, that no matter who stays, who goes, who notices, or who forgets, you remain rooted. You become the calm in your own storm, the home within your own heart, the light that doesn't flicker just because the room gets dark. And that, my friend, is power. That is the strength of solitude. Let's talk about something we were never really taught growing up. Something that isn't written in textbooks or talked about at dinner tables. Something most of us had to learn the hard way. The power of choosing yourself. You see, most of us were raised to believe that happiness is something that happens when someone else gives it to us. We wait for it like it's mail that's going to arrive one day. We wait for someone to see our worth. We wait for someone to make us feel chosen. We wait for the relationship, the job, the applause, the approval, thinking once I get that, then I'll feel whole. But here's the truth that will set you free. No one is coming to choose you the way you dream of being chosen until you do. Happiness isn't found in someone's validation. It's not gifted to you through their love. It's not waiting at the end of their compliments or their attention or their approval. That kind of happiness, it's fragile, because the moment they change or leave or forget to show up for you, you're left empty. So instead of waiting, start choosing. Choose yourself, not someday, not when they finally notice, not when you lose 10 pounds or earn 10 degrees, right now, as you are. That choice, choosing yourself first, isn't selfish. It's sacred. It's not about ignoring others. It's about recognizing that your life, your joy, your worth begins with you. Choosing yourself means waking up in the morning and deciding that your peace matters. It means creating boundaries, not walls, but healthy limits that protect your heart from being drained. It means saying no to what doesn't align with your spirit, even when it's hard, even when it costs you approval. It means feeding your soul before feeding everyone else's expectations. When you choose yourself, something begins to shift. You no longer beg for crumbs when you realize you can bake your own cake. You no longer chase people who treat you like you're optional. You stop watering dead plants, hoping they'll bloom. You start turning that energy inward toward the most important relationship in your life, the one you have with you. Choosing yourself looks like leaving the job that's killing your joy. It looks like walking away from the relationship that no longer respects your growth. It looks like turning off the noise and listening to your inner voice, even when no one else understands. Because the truth is, people won't always get it when you start choosing you. They may say you've changed, and you have. You're no longer living your life for their comfort. You're living it for your truth. And let me tell you, that truth is powerful. When you start choosing yourself, you stop waiting for someone else to rescue you. You become your own anchor, your own safe space, your own greatest cheerleader. You realize that the love you were searching for has been inside you all along, just waiting for permission to shine. So many of us have been conditioned to put everyone else first, to be the caregiver, the fixer, the strong one, the dependable one. And yes, caring for others is beautiful, but not at the cost of your own soul. There is nothing noble about abandoning yourself. There is nothing kind about keeping yourself small so others feel big. There is nothing loving about saying yes when every cell in your body is screaming no. Choosing yourself is about reclaiming your voice. It's about honoring your dreams, even the ones you've buried. It's about showing up for your future self by making decisions today that align with who you're becoming. When you choose yourself, you stop settling. You stop trying to earn love through exhaustion. You stop shrinking to fit into places you've outgrown. You begin to walk taller, speak clearer, live freer, and suddenly everything begins to shift. You attract better. You see clearer. You trust deeper, especially in yourself. Because now you're not waiting for someone else to hand you permission. You've already given it to yourself. You understand that you are not a supporting character in someone else's movie. You are the writer, the director, the lead. So start writing a script that includes your joy, a script where you matter, a story where your needs aren't last on the list, a life that reflects who you really are, not just who the world told you to be. Because when you choose yourself, you give others permission to do the same. You become a light, a mirror, a reminder that worth doesn't come from being chosen, it comes from being true. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not asking for too much. You are simply asking for what you've been afraid to give yourself all along. Unconditional acceptance, fierce love, and unwavering commitment. So start there. Start today. Choose you. Not just once, but again and again, until it becomes your default setting, until your happiness is no longer dependent on who stays or who leaves, but rooted in the unshakable truth that you are already enough. And that kind of love, the kind that begins within, is the foundation of everything beautiful that's yet to come. There's a kind of peace the world can't give you, a kind of peace that isn't found in applause, relationships, status, or success. It's deeper, quieter, and more powerful than anything external. It's the kind of peace that rises from the inside. When you've done the inner work, when you've met yourself in the mirror without flinching, when you've sat in silence long enough to know your own voice, that peace, that's real. Most people spend their entire lives chasing peace through people. They say, if I can just find the right partner, then I'll be happy. If they love me enough, I'll feel whole. If they treat me right, then I'll be okay. And when it doesn't happen, when the attention fades, the love is inconsistent, or the validation doesn't come, they crumble. Because they built their peace like a house of cards on the foundation of other people's actions. But peace that depends on others will always be fragile. If your calm is tied to someone else's mood, you will live in chaos. If your joy is tied to someone else's presence, you will live in fear. If your identity is tied to how the world treats you, you will never feel secure. You weren't meant to live like that. You weren't built to be emotionally handcuffed to someone else's behavior. You weren't created to depend on shifting winds for your sense of self. Because here's what's true. People are unpredictable. They change. They leave. They disappoint. They misunderstand. They forget. And if your peace lives in them, your peace will leave when they do. But when you learn to create peace within yourself, deep, honest peace that isn't borrowed or bought, then no one can take it from you. Not rejection, not betrayal, not silence, not absence. You become steady, not because life stops being hard, not because people stop hurting you, but because you stop abandoning yourself. Inner peace is the reward of those who refuse to outsource their worth. It's what you build when you stop blaming and start taking responsibility for your emotional life. It's what rises when you no longer need people to behave a certain way for you to feel okay. Think about how many times we've given away our power. You get a text, you're happy. You get ignored, you're anxious. Someone compliments you, you feel seen. Someone criticizes you, you doubt your entire self. That's not peace. That's dependency. But when your peace is rooted within, you stop riding that roller coaster. You stop waiting for others to calm your storms. You become your own anchor. You breathe deeper You respond instead of react. You learn to pause instead of panic. You listen to your own needs instead of begging to be understood. And the most beautiful thing is, you begin to feel free. Not in a loud, dramatic way. You free yourself from needing to be constantly reassured. You free yourself from chasing people who don't see your value. You free yourself from bending over backwards just to be tolerated. You simply become. You become someone who holds peace like a flame inside the chest. And no storm, no conflict, no silence can blow it out. That peace is built in the moments no one sees. When you choose healing over distraction. When you choose truth over people-pleasing. When you choose to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. When you stop performing and start listening to your own heart. Peace comes when you no longer feel the need to explain yourself. It comes when you don't need to win every argument to feel secure. It comes when you stop needing every conversation to end with approval. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. You know what you feel, and you don't need permission to feel it. There's an old saying, you carry your weather with you. And it's true. You can either let life dictate your climate, rainy when someone disrespects you, stormy when someone leaves, or you can create your own sun. And once you learn that skill, once you build that peace, everything changes. You stop showing up from desperation. You start showing up from overflow. You stop needing things from people and start offering your presence, your love, your truth from a full cup. That's what emotional independence looks like. It's not about isolating. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's not about walls or pride. It's about standing in your life with both feet planted, knowing that you are your own foundation, that no one else gets to dictate your peace, that you can weather storms without losing yourself. And in that space, in that quiet, powerful, grounded space, you become unshakable. Let's take a moment to talk about self-love. Not the kind that's loud on social media, not the kind you post for likes, but the kind that's deep, quiet, and real. The kind that changes your life, not just the way you treat yourself, but the way others treat you too. Because here's the truth. You don't attract what you say you want. You attract what you believe you deserve. When you love yourself genuinely, consistently, you raise your standards without needing to explain them. You stop accepting half-hearted effort. You stop bending yourself into shapes just to fit into someone else's life. You stop auditioning for love because you've already given yourself the role of being whole. So many people are trying to find the one while still abandoning themselves every single day. They're searching for someone to give them the love they haven't yet given themselves. But here's what happens when you do that. You don't enter relationships from a place of fullness. You enter from a place of need, of lack, of emptiness. And relationships built from emptiness turn into transactions. If you love me, I'll feel worthy. If you choose me, I'll finally be enough. If you stay, I'll believe I matter. But what happens when they don't love you well? What happens when they leave? What happens when they're unavailable? You break, you crumble, you shrink. That's why self-love isn't optional, it's essential. It's not a trend, it's survival. When you've done the work to love yourself, really love yourself, you don't settle for breadcrumbs. You don't tolerate inconsistency. You don't confuse intensity with intimacy. You stop mistaking attention for affection. You stop calling chaos chemistry because you know what peace feels like, and now you refuse to trade it for temporary company. Your energy shifts when you love yourself. You walk into rooms differently. You speak up for yourself without guilt. You say no without explaining. You trust your gut without second guessing. You leave what doesn't serve you without begging it to change. You teach people how to treat you, not by demanding respect, but by embodying it. You don't have to convince anyone to love you when you've already decided that you are lovable. And what's powerful is that people can feel it. The confidence, the clarity, the calm. When you've done your inner work, when your happiness doesn't depend on another person's presence, you become magnetic. Not because you're perfect, but because you whole. That kind of energy is rare, it's grounded, it's steady, it doesn't